would you ever marry someone not having asked the question, do you want to have kids? That's a big deal to people.
No, but I also think asking someone, "Do you want to have kids?" is like a very new thing. I think a generation ago, it was assumed you did.
Okay, how many kids? Can you ask that?
6.
Right? Like, what if somebody says 6?
Right. So if your boyfriend, like, it's assumed that everyone wants children, right? That's what we assume society wise. And
Right.
you and I are dating, and I'm like, "How many kids do you want?" And you're like, "2." And I'm like, "3." And we're like, "Now we can fight about if it's 2 or 3."
Yeah.
But
If it's,
nowadays, I actually don't want any children, you
I
know?
don't either. And if I was dating someone and they wanted to have a child with me, we can't plan for our future because I'm not going to do that. And that's a serious question. And if it's a difference of 2 or 3 kids, I think you can work that out. But if it's a difference of 1 and 5 kids,
2.5 kids.
2 kids and a dog.
2 kids and like a big dog. Yeah. No, I tried and like dating, like I would be very upfront. I'd be like, I don't want, and like the older I got, the easier it was to be like, look, it's past the time. I'm gonna have a messed up kid.
I think the older I got, people stopped asking me if I am going to have kids.
But yeah,
It
well,
used to be, I don't know if you got this. This was very something that I had to deal with all the time. I was pretty vocal about the fact that I didn't want kids. And a lot of people would say, first of all, oh, but you'd be such a great mom. I'm like, no, you just like me mommying you. But
mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
not what I want to do. And this wasn't necessarily my partner. It was like people, just friends or associates or whatever. And then the other thing would be, hey, you're gonna regret it.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I cannot have children
yeah,
thinking that I
yes,
might regret it. That's crazy.
yes. That
And
is
then
such a
all
gamble with a new person's life to be like, "Mommy, why did you want me on the planet?" Be like, "I was afraid I would regret it if I didn't." What an
yeah.
insane logic for like, I
And then to ease people's pains and also to like ease my own thought of that because I had to think, what if I change my mind? You can't at a certain point, you can't. I always thought, hey, I'm really genuinely okay with adopting. And I thought, I don't want to be pregnant. If I were to want to have kids, I think I would want to adopt. I want a child, not necessarily a biological connection to me. I It's just always how I felt. I felt like children are children and I'm not. And I understand that like people feel certain ways and there's got to be something magical about it growing something. I mean it's absolutely amazing, but I didn't connect to it
yeah,
at
no,
all.
I was always told, because I've been pretty sure that I didn't want. I was always like open to the idea, but they were like, once you hit 30, you're gonna wake up and scream for sperm to make a
Yeah.
baby. And I was like, okay, I'll wait for that day. And that day never came. And
Right.
then
I got that too and you're so right because
they were
if it's
like,
going
you're
to
going to change your mind. You're going to change. Cause I'd be like, I was like 27 and they're like, do you want kids? And I'd be like, nah, I don't really want kids. And they'd be like, you'll change your mind.
great.
And I was like, okay, then I will deal with it then.
Yeah,
But the
this isn't
more
a belief system. This is just I can't see myself
it
feeling like
didn't,
I would want to have kids, but if I do, I'll feel it.
I'll,
Okay.